I was sat with a problem of going, well, I'm hearing all this stuff about data. Why can't we use it in project management? Why can't us as project management and project managers, why can't we make better decisions with the data we've got? And that's the key. So the key thing I was trying to solve was, how do you provide the right information at the right time to the right person to make the right decision? Because it's all about decision making. That's ultimately what it's about. It's not about, and I'm going to present this today, we'll talk a little bit of digital stuff, but I am going to tell you that you need to get dashboards. Everyone thinks it's about dashboards. You can be blue in the face with dashboards, but if it doesn't tell you anything, if you don't make a decision on it, it's probably worthless. So again, that's some of the problems I was trying to solve. And to be honest, I scratched my head with it for a good 6-7 months. And he's already been mentioned as a guy called Martin Paver, who was up here, say about 5-6 years ago. And I went to Spurs Stadium in London, and there was a hackathon there. And that was my penny dropping moment. That was when I realized how we could use data to actually help predict what's going to happen in our projects, but also how we can use it to automate stuff, how we can use it to get our people to do better work, i.e. give you insights rather than just data. And I went to this hackathon and I was amazed. There was 100 people there, all just trying to solve different challenges. And within them challenges, you would have some and a real-time example was HS2 project at the time. They put a challenge in. Again, they were getting a lot of, let's say, work not starting because of the weather. So a lot of the work they were doing was outside. They put a challenge in, and it was quite a simple concept, really, which I'd never really thought of. They basically put the Met Office app into Primavera, and they auto-scheduled the work. And don't get me wrong, this wasn't just IT going crazy with a schedule. They put parameters in. If it was 80% of the chance of rain, do this. If it was 70% chance of rain, do that, etc., etc., etc. And it links from what I was saying before. Is we've always predicted the weather, so why don't we use it? So they used it to automate the skill sets and where they would schedule their work on a daily and weekly basis. And that solution came up within a day and a half. And it was, for me, it was quite inspiring. I thought, right, so how do I go to my organization and do this? And that's when you hit one of your problems, which is IT. Because IT is the usual concept of IT is the computer says no. And I got a lot of that as well. So I sat and I thought, right, I need some form of strategy. What can I do? So that's where we sat, and again, I'll mention Martin Paver as a guy who introduced me to someone from National Highways, and he talked about what he was doing. And it was, and he's talking about things like your mindset, your skill set, and your tool set. You put them together and you think, right, if I align my strategy around these 3 principles, this will help me. And then you think, right, what's my current state? What am I currently looking at? So this, and you don't really need to read this next slide, but just, it's a bit of a mess. So that was our infrastructure, our IT infrastructure. Now, so what? Well, there's Access databases in there, there's Excel in there, there's data platforms in there, there's loads of different tools from loads of different organizations, Primavera's in there, SAP's in there, and they're linked all over the place. And what we found is when someone wanted to change something, we couldn't do it because that was too complicated. We changed something at the bottom and something at the top changed, and then our data was all wrong again. And we were already sat there going, we're not very credible here because our data isn't very good, or it isn't the source of the truth. So we did a bit of benchmarking. We looked about, and no better than our new build at Hinkley Point C. We thought, right, a major infrastructure project, we'd look at them. And what they had was something like this. So we had the person at the top, great, had all the visualizations in the world, but what they did have was at the bottom, a whole load of people turning this big, massive handle, because it wasn't built on a data platform. It was built with lots of Excel. It was built with lots of people doing macros and manipulation of data. Also, the person at the top could go, I'm happy, I'm unhappy. And that was done on a monthly cycle. And again, that's one of the things we need to sort of really look at our data and say, are we doing data for the monthly cycle, or do we want to make data to make better decisions? And when I say the monthly cycle, I mean the financial cycle. So we set on this path, and this is what we went for, the modern day platform. You'll hear this, and there'll be people outside, maybe in here, who will send you, who can probably produce this for you, and you could buy the software package, a PPM tool, that will give you a lot of what I've got here. One of the challenges we had in nuclear operations was the sensitivity of our data. So we can't just go out and say, give me a software tool, there's all our data. We can't do that. Our data has to be kept primarily in-house. So unless we're going to pay someone who's given us this software tool a load of money to security clear all their people, which is very unlikely, we sort of think, right, we're going to have to build it ourselves. So we looked at Microsoft 365 and the suite and the Zero Data Lake. Now, the data lake, just think of it as a concept. So this is a very noddy drone. I didn't want to put all the technical side of it, because one of the reasons is I don't understand it. I don't need to understand it. We have IT people and data infrastructure people who build all this for us. But what we do understand is the concept. What's the concept we're trying to do? So you'll have a hell of a lot of inputs into the data lake, and the data lake is just one area where all the data is formed, collated, and put in a structured way so we can use it. So we have a lot of bespoke tools that go into the data lake. We have there's more than 4. We have lots of entries into our data lake, and some of them will be the standardized SAP and P6, but then there's the other stuff, which is all our bespoke stuff where you risk, you change. We have stuff, because we're in defueling, where we spend government money, we have a different set of inputs that we need to put in for that. So again, it all needs to balance out on our costs, and it all needs to be there as a baseline. So we set off on this path, and we built the Azure Data Lake. We then piped in all our subsequently apps and other software. Now that, like I say, that puts all your data together, and that's fundamentally where you're then set to go. And you're set to go to say, right, how am I going to now use this data, bring it all together? But again, it's not about the Power BI dashboard at the end. In my view, what you really want to do is look at where the decisions are made that are really the effective ones. So once you get to the top, if your project director's making the decisions, ultimately, you've lost control at the bottom. That's why they're making the decisions. So you want to set something up, a tool set that allows your project managers, your project controllers to have the data sets and the decision-making capability there so they can make the right decision at the right level. So it's the right decision at the right time. If your project director's making a decision, it's probably the wrong time because it's too late. It should have been done at the lower end. So we need to provide the data at that level. And that's what this does. And you can visualize it in so many different ways, to be fair. And Power BI is one. We use Power BI as an accountability tool as well. So we have a Power App that goes straight into Power BI, which gives you a narrative. So you can put narrative against your data. Very easy and simple concept. Your IT whiz kids, honestly, it's not that difficult. But what that also allows us to do is the ultimate thing you want is that one source of the truth. So when I was in delivery, I would say, I'm not here to talk about your data, I'm here to talk about mine, and I'd get my Excel spreadsheet out, and I'd start talking about mine, and they'd say, well, what about this? And I don't even understand that, I don't even know what you're talking about, and I'd only purely talk about my data. Now, we've eradicated that because, like I say, there's one source of the truth, and that's what you need to do. You've got to have one source, you've got to have, and same as projects, finance, engineering, whoever it is, whoever your customers are, all need to be talking off the same data so the right decisions can be made. And I go back to, right information at the right time to the right people to make the right decision. And if there's one thing you take away from your talk, it is that sentence. Because if you're not doing that, as a PMO, it's pretty pointless. So, moving on from our data platform, so we've got the tool set. And we built this in 2023. 2023 was our year of the tool set. And this is what we built. But you've also got, this is where I was struggling a little bit, was, okay, so you've got, again, you can go outside and you can be sold a PPM tool. Great. So you've got something that can automate something. You've got something that can take time away, which is great. People aren't doing all this manual input, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't know what to do with the data, it's pretty goddamn useless, isn't it? So how do you make better decisions?